The polished mahogany door felt heavy beneath Lena's hand. She drew in a deep breath, the scent of expensive air freshener and old money filling her lungs. This was it. The final interview for a senior marketing role at Sterling & Finch, a company so prestigious its very name was practically shorthand for success. She smoothed the front of her tailored blazer, her resume, a meticulously crafted list of accomplishments, resting in her portfolio like a shield. The man behind the desk was Harold Sterling, a name spoken with reverence in corporate circles. His silver hair and sharp, calculating gaze missed nothing. His office was a shrine to power, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city skyline, shelves lined with leather-bound volumes, and a framed photograph of him shaking hands with a former president. Lena sat down, the leather chair creaking softly beneath her. She smiled, her confidence built on a decade of hard work and an MBA from a top university. "Thank you for seeing me, Mr. Sterling. It's an honor." He nodded, a brief, dismissive gesture. He didn't glance at her resume. He didn't ask about her experience or her impressive portfolio. Instead, his eyes went to her hair, a crown of natural curls styled with care. Then to her hands, nails neatly manicured. His gaze was a silent judgment, an appraisal of everything except her qualifications. "So you're from the city, I see," he began, his voice low and gravelly. "I usually prefer candidates from more established backgrounds, people who understand our clientele." He paused, letting the silence stretch, heavy and uncomfortable. "You seem a little too avant-garde for our brand. Our image is about tradition, heritage." Each word landed like a slow-motion insult, dropping with a dull thud. Lena's smile faltered, but her resolve did not. She leaned forward. "Mr. Sterling, at my previous company, I increased digital engagement by over 40% in 2 years. I led multimillion-dollar campaigns. I'm confident I have both the experience and the vision to bring fresh perspective to Sterling & Finch while honoring its legacy." He scoffed, a dry, sharp sound. "A fresh perspective? We're not looking for something new. We're looking for someone who fits, someone who looks the part. This isn't the place for experimentation." His eyes drifted back to her resume. Though he didn't pick it up, he simply stared at the page, as if the color of her name itself was a mistake. The rejection wasn't loud or aggressive. It was quiet, final, a polite dismissal. "I'm sorry, but I don't believe you're the right fit for this role. We have a very specific culture here." He stood, signaling the end of the interview. "We'll be in touch." Lena knew what "we'll be in touch" really meant. It meant, "You're not what we're looking for." She rose, her carefully built confidence fractured, but her dignity intact. "I understand," she said, her voice steady. She collected her portfolio and walked out, the polished mahogany door closing behind her like a tombstone. The weight of the moment pressed down on her, the raw injustice stinging. This wasn't about her skills. It was about her skin. Her hair, the very essence of who she was. She stepped into the city's crowded streets, the taste of defeat bitter on her tongue. The walk of humiliation in the midday sunlight, which only minutes ago had felt so promising, now seemed harsh and unforgiving. Lena blended into the crowd, swept along in the hurried rhythm of anonymous faces. Every step, every blaring horn, every fragmented conversation echoed the silent rejection she had just endured. This wasn't a no based on her experience or lack thereof. It was a no rooted in her identity, in who she was. The humiliation didn't scream. It whispered, rising from within, burning in her throat, and sitting heavy in her stomach. She thought of the night spent awake studying for her MBA, of every meeting she had led, of every project she had successfully delivered. She had worked tirelessly to prove her worth in a world that so often refused to see it. She had imagined herself in those offices, leading a team, breathing life into new ideas, breaking barriers. The vision had been so clear. And now, in an instant, Harold Sterling had shattered it. Not with harsh words, but with a glance and a tone that said, unmistakably, "You don't belong." Her phone rang. It was her mother. Lena hesitated, not wanting her voice to betray her disappointment. Still, she answered. "Hi, Mom," she said, forcing cheer into her tone. "Hi, sweetheart. How did it go? Did you get the job?" Her mother's voice was brimming with hope, The question hit Lena like a punch to the gut. The lie came quickly, almost instinctively. It went, "Well, they said they'll be in touch. I have a good feeling." The joy in her mother's voice was palpable. "I knew it. You're the most talented one, my girl. No one compares to you. I can't wait to celebrate." Lena forced a smile she couldn't feel, knowing the celebration would never come. She promised to call back and ended the conversation. Guilt mingled with anger and resentment. Why did she have to lie? Why was the truth so heavy? The truth was that she had been rejected for something she could never change. The truth was that, despite all her hard work, people like Harold Sterling didn't see her as a professional, but as a box, unchecked and unwanted. The bitter taste of prejudice, Lena found a bench in a small park and sat, watching children play and couples stroll past. She opened her portfolio, staring down at her resume. Every line, every word was an achievement. She had led Team X to Y% growth. She had implemented strategies, Z, that saved millions. It was the kind of resume recruiters dreamed of, but to Harold Sterling, it was just paper. He didn't see a candidate. He saw a risk, a threat to his company's traditional image. His words echoed in her mind. Avant-garde, experimentation, euphemism for her skin, her hair, the simple fact that she didn't fit into his narrow mold of what success looked like in his world. The sting of it lingered. She would never be traditional enough for them. Anger began to rise. The humiliation gave way to a cold determination. She remembered a story her father often told about her great-grandmother, the first black woman in her community to open a business. "They won't do what's right," he used to say, "unless you make them." Her anger sharpened into strength. She wouldn't let this go. She wouldn't let Harold Sterling's rejection be the final word. She stood, snapped her portfolio shut, and began walking, not aimlessly now, but with purpose. There would be other jobs, other companies, other opportunities. But Sterling and Finch was special. It was the pinnacle. And being shut out for such unjust reasons made that pinnacle feel like an untouchable castle, guarded by a moat of prejudice. But Lena was not the kind to give up. She knew her story wasn't unique, but she also knew she had to act so that other young women, talented and ambitious, wouldn't have to endure the same treatment. Maybe she couldn't fix it all, but she could begin. Her walk home was quicker. The bitter taste of failure began to give way to the sweet edge of determination. She knew she had to resume. She had the experience. She had the talent. What she didn't have was the approval of a man blinded by prejudice. And she didn't need it to.